review for Novation, with our live stream. Oh, the music's suddenly stopped. That didn't quite go as smoothly as I was hoping, but hey, there we go. Hi, wherever you are in the world, welcome to this end of year review from Novation. This is the last live stream of 2021, and I'm joined with some with a whole host of guests. It's almost like, it feels like a bit like the the kind of Novation All-Stars. So, switch over and the big reveal. Hello, everyone. Hi, how you doing?
Hey,
great stuff.
Hey,
so,
everybody.
Yo. Hey. So tonight, obviously, myself, CALC, here with the live stream, but then over in Melbourne, Australia, we have the only synthmeister, Mr. Ehsan Gelsi. Hey Ehsan, how are you doing?
Hey guys, how are you all? Good to see you.
Good. So Ehsan is first thing in the morning, and myself and then Alex Godfrey, we're in the UK. Alex, oh my God, you've got your Christmas jumper on as well. Superb. Oh, with the jingle bells, that's exactly what we want. So hey Alex, and Alex of course is the UK product specialist for Focusrite Novation, and has joined me on the live stream a couple of times as well. And then last but by no means least at all, Mr. Enrique Martinez. Enrique, it's a great joy to have you here, man. It's the first time I think that we've had you on one of the YouTube live streams. I know you've been
with all of us.
Yeah, with all of us together. So I know you've been doing a heck of a lot of stuff throughout the course of the year yourself on Instagram and obviously the YouTube videos as well. But it's a pleasure to have you here, man. Thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, cool. And so, so this is the first time that we're truly global tonight. So we have Enrique over in LA, myself and Alex in the U of K, and then Ehsan over in Melbourne as well. So, it's it's quite a global spread. Fantastic.
Is it lunchtime for you over there, Enrique?
Yeah, 1 p.m. right now.
1 p.m. for you. What's it for you, Ehsan?
Right on the dot of 8 a.m.
8 a.m., yeah, and we're 9 p.m. in the evening. So, it's a good spread.
Whoa,
that's a good spread of time zones. Yeah, brilliant.
We're all on the same rock, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're spinning at the same speed, but just at different points. So, brilliant. So this is the... really, it's kind of an end-of-year review, I guess. We're going to just have a chat through some of the things that we've been up to throughout the course of the year. Of course, Novation has been pretty busy with a few fairly major releases this year. So, of course, we're going to talk through some of that sort of stuff. Some of the other things that we've been busy with and on with as well. And then towards the end, we've kind of hit on this idea. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but we're going to do a Secret Santa. So each of us has kind of been randomly picked to buy somebody a little gift. So we'll unwrap some presents, We'll unwrap some presents a little bit later on and have a chat about that as well. I'm going to just say a bit of hello to some people in the chat room as well. So, Wagyu, hey man, good to see you. Tonal Axis, Andrew Brooks, great to see you here. Thanks for joining us. Button as well. Guys, it's been a while, Button. Hope you're doing well, mate. Travasi as well. Hey, Travasi. Good to see you here. Thanks very much for joining us. So, great stuff. Anyway, well, let's crack on because, as I say, we're going to just sort of chat through some of the bits throughout the course of the year. And, of course, it's been a pretty crazy year. Another crazy year, I guess, following last year. And it's still kind of, we're in the kind of the throes of... more craziness at the minute with regards to kind of pandemic stuff. But, it was quite a difficult start this year. We were all kind of locked down at the point of getting to 2021. Certainly in the UK we were, and I think probably in Melbourne as well. I don't know about you, Enrique. Were you in at any point in any sort of lockdown kind of situation?
No, not really. No? But I usually lock myself in this room anyway, no matter what's going on.
That's a fair point, isn't it? I guess, it's quite handy to be into this kind of gear and all this kind of stuff, I guess, because if you need to lock yourself away, we've got toys to play with, which is a good thing, I guess. So, but, of course, we hit the ground running in January. I think, if I remember correctly, I've got a feeling it was January the 6th, but I could have got the date a little bit wrong. But that was that was the announcement date for a certain product from Novation, the Circuit Tracks. So so we'll have a little chat about Circuit Tracks. Go ahead, Alex.
Was that Rhythm that was on January? Was that Tracks going out on January?
Well, it was actually Circuit Tracks that was released in January. But yeah, I mean, some news, some hooky news broke in January as well regarding
rumors,
there were some rumors and some screen grabs as well, I think, of and other products, which we'll come to. But no, Circuit Tracks was the initial release of the year, and I mean, I guess Circuit Tracks kind of marked the new generation of Circuit, so the full blown groove box. I mean, it was quite an interesting development, I think. I mean, with Circuit Tracks. So let's see. I mean, Alex, you were one of the QA engineers at that point on that project as well. That was your kind of last of the quality assurance side of things, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was really, really fun to be able to see the one out in the wild and be able to talk about it to people for the first time. I've been working on that for a long time. I can't remember exactly how long. Been in the scope for like probably a year or two. And then obviously like through all the difficulties last year to kind of have something that we all of us put together and could put out there was really, really nice to start the year off with that.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. It's always a nice thing, isn't it? Once that announcement's made, and we can start to like breathe a sigh of relief and not kind of watch what you're saying, and then you can actually talk about the product. And then Enrique as well. I mean, you were really involved on the kind of the initial videos as well for Circuit Tracks. So I mean, I guess you'd been working on it for a good while as well, getting the chops in.
Yeah, I had it for. I mean, I got it. I had one of the like prototype units where it was just like, here's what it's going to look like, but there's no firmware. It's basically like a shell.
Yeah.
And then it was funny too, because even myself, I was just like, I wonder what is the major upgrade from the original Circuit Tracks. And it actually offers a lot more than I originally anticipated. Once you start actually using it, the 32 steps per pattern, or my favorite thing, so easily enough, is just pattern settings divide the sequence time division by 2. So boom, easy, 2 bars, all in one view.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
little things.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, throughout the course of the original Circuit, of course, things were, upgraded. There was firmware kind of coming through. I think there were 8 releases of firmwares, and whilst there were opportunities to kind of, remove any bugs that might have been there, they were just kind of adding features, loading features into the original Circuit, and that kind of. It was quite an interesting one because, you've got the UI to consider, the user interface, when you're kind of adding features into something. And with Circuit Tracks, we had the opportunity to take all of those great kind of additional features, but actually packaged it up and kind of make it part of the device, so therefore it's part of the user interface.
Yeah, and not even just off of the original Circuit. We were looking at Launchpad Pro, as well as MonoStation with things like mutate and those pattern settings and stuff, because that wasn't on original Circuit, but it was on the MonoStation. Mutate was, at least.
Yeah, no, exactly, that's right. So it's kind of all these kind of bits just kind of fell into place into the tracks, but with some serious improvements as well, of course. For example, like you said, the pattern settings, which I think, they were originally on the MonoStation, but they came through into the Circuit Tracks. And that, that coupled with the 32 steps, or the double the pattern length that you could get, and pattern settings and double pattern length, I mean, that just makes... You've got a whole lot of real estate now. I mean, you can turn one pattern, whereas one pattern would always be 1 bar on the original Circuit, or less if you wanted to change the length. You could all of a sudden use one pattern, and that would occupy 8 bars worth of music, and that in itself is really strong. And so how was the release for you, Ehsan, as well? I mean, over in Australia.
Excellent. It was a really exciting. Actually, I had to look it up because I remember, Enrique, your excellent song "Chasing Tides." That was your performance, and I just dug it out. Great tune, man. Great tune. It was really good. It was mind expanding, that product, because I was such a big circuit fan, and the scenes was the life changing feature for me, because I'm such a disciplined, jammer. I'm all about programming everything within an inch of its life, and so those scenes then gave me the ability to create, long form reproducible stuff without getting too, you can program it but then lay it all out on the surface just to jump between for performance. So that was the big changer for me. Love it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the scenes, you're right. For the first time, we had a kind of an arrangement kind of system, which is, it's not quite a song mode, but it's not too far off.
Well, it sort of is.
Yeah. Do you ever chain scenes? Because it's funny to hear you say that you see scenes kind of like as the game changer for you. When I personally don't really use scenes, I'm still so used to chaining patterns.
Yeah.
That I'm still stuck in that workflow. But I was wondering, do you ever chain scenes?
So I do. Yeah, I do chain the scenes, and I mean I use them variously as just performance pattern switching, so I can go from short chains of patterns to long chains of patterns. Same as you, I usually have 4 patterns strung together, or with the 32 steps, of course, I can sort of rinse 2 patterns out of them. I'm just about getting maximum mileage out of whatever. So, I've definitely thrown a few sets together where I'm just using chains of scenes not as a full song. I said, well, maybe, so what's a song anyway? But, I'll have maybe 2 blocks of 8 scenes that I can switch between. And just that reproducibility thing, because I can mangle things and then reload the pattern, or reload the project, I should say.
Yeah.
And it'll just kick me back to the start of the chain scenes.
I could see it as a good checkpoint in the middle of a performance. Sometimes I'm like, oh, this setup right here sounds cool. Let me just save this as a quick jump back.
Yeah.
In that sense, I'll use it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, I found myself chaining scenes as and when required, but generally I'm a little bit more about kind of the real time sort of decisions, for want of a better word, I guess. It's kind of, okay, it's time to change a pattern now, and that sort of thing. But one thing that I think scenes are good at, of course, you can chain them, but you can just use them as a block of, a collection of scenes. So, you can still kind of work in both ways, really. And another thing that I really enjoy doing is kind of creating a dummy pattern. So if I've got kind of an empty track somewhere or something like that, or something that's not perhaps being used as part of the arrangement, I might think, okay, I want this section to be like, I don't know, let's say 8 bars long before it kind of repeats and that sort of thing. You can kind of create an empty pattern, but using the pattern settings and the length control, you can basically kind of create this little holding pattern. And of course, the scene will only kind of repeat once it's kind of used the longest pattern. So you can kind of have this holding pattern of 8 bars, and that you've got 8 bars of of stuff going on there, and that's when it'll repeat. And it's just a nice kind of a way of, it's like a, how can I put it? It's like a measurement for the length of that scene. I think that's pretty useful. I should point out as well, actually, I've just spotted in the chat here, Cool Doug Love is in the chat as well. Shout out to Cool Doug Love. He's this guy's all over the rhythm at the moment, and I found a video of his today, and he is chaining scenes, and it's a bit of a masterclass in circuit rhythm. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go and check it out. Yeah, he's that guy's he's got chops for sure. Yeah, so good to see you, Cool Doug. Anyway, so circuit tracks. Oh yeah, the one thing that we perhaps didn't mention so far with circuit tracks, and I think is quite an important part of it, is the connectivity on there as well. That's I
was going to say the audio inputs are a biggest game changer for me there, because that's the thing that's encouraged me to go doorless, like moving away from recording stuff multi-tracks. Like I was using circuit, the original circuit, to sequence other pieces of equipment and then recording the output of that into a DAW. But now it's just the output of that goes back through circuit. You can put a bit of reverb and delay on there, and then you can go straight out into a DAW if you want to record, or just straight out into speakers or headphones. It's a big shift.
Yeah,
in the workflow for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean that,
and it's not just DAWless. It's totally screenless as well when you're working with circuits. Where's the screen
question? The perennial. Where's the screen?
It lives on.
It does indeed. Yeah, I mean, I think I've probably addressed this before, but it's designed to not have a screen. Its purpose is to not have a screen, really. And that's the way it works. And, I think the way that the user interface is kind of put out there, it works really, really well without a screen. If you did want a screen, certainly to control or create presets with a synth, you can just plug it into your computer and then open up Novation components, and there's your screen. So, it has a screen when you want it to, but, it's designed not to have one. So, yeah, cool. So,
I'm just going to add to the audio input point. Like Alex, game changer for me, and I'm like having a second epiphany with circuit tracks now. I'd been stewing on it, thinking, this is a lot more than just a groove box. I'm using it now as like it's replaced the compressor in my live. We'll get to this when we start talking Christmas, and I'm really excited about this part. But like you can never have too many reverb pedals in your rig, and so it's just a really handy effects box to have around. I can whack it on anything, and I've got automatable effects. Even if I'm not using the internal sound engine, I can use that sequencer to tweak up some effects and automate some sends and things like that, and just have a grid of performative stuff right in front of you, and then have some things side chaining through it, and drowning things in reverb and using them to, as separate channels, each input 1 and 2, as so it's kind of a mixer, it's an effects unit, it's a compressor. It just keeps on giving.
Yeah, for sure. I think yeah. Nice start to the year, I guess, and that was just January the 6th. We've got a whole year to get through, so maybe we should kind of move on. I made a few notes about some of the things that we kind of got throughout the course of the year, and I spotted that in March, now this would perhaps be a bit more recognizable for maybe guys in the US, but there was the synesthesia event in March, which was obviously because of the kind of the way that we kind of living, all the events and stuff were still very much kind of online and kind of moved that way. But the thing that caught my attention about the synesthesia event is, and again, this is on the Novation YouTube channel, it was a live stream from you guys in the States. So Cody, Enrique, Casey, you know the whole crew over there, Enrique, but that was a 5-hour live stream, man. That was insane. So
yeah, I think Cody carried majority of the weight, just like completely toasted by the end of it. And I don't know what's more exhausting, doing like a 5-hour live stream or a 5-hour in-person event.
That's true enough. Yeah.
Because live stream, it's like you have someone talking to you, the camera, just in your face for 5 hours. Like you can't go take a quick break or like a breather. Just like this guy follows you around. Yeah.
It's bad news when you need the toilet doing a live stream. That's especially if you've got a radio mic. Yeah. But I was just really sort of taken with that one. I thought that was pretty impressive. But I think you're quite right though, Enrique. I mean, when because we're all kind of product specialists, we all kind of do the demonstration stuff. We all go to the kind of the big shows, big trade shows, and I mean, you kind of forget how tiring that stuff is. You're on your feet all day, you're talking all day, and invariably you're catching the worst possible cold that's going around at that time as well, you bring home. So yeah, in many ways it's probably a good thing that the kind of things were kind of online at that point still. But synesthesia event, that was back in March. And then a little bit after that, another bit of news from Novation. Of course, last year we were really busy last year as well. We kind of had the Launchpad range totally revamped, so the Mark IIIs of the Launchpad, but also the Launchkeys. And I forget when it was. I think it was perhaps March, maybe April. But we had an update for the Launchkey, and it was quite a simple update, but it did bring quite an interesting new feature to it: the strum mode, which is part of the arpeggiator. So I'll pop that down. But I mean, have you guys got any thoughts on on the strum mode? How has that changed up your workflow? Is that kind of brought much for you guys?
I like using it for like shredding. If you have a really long arpeggio sequence, because the strum mode, if anyone's not aware, it's on the arpeggiator. Am I right? I think it's a direction.
Yeah.
Is it a direct? Yes, a direction meaning, but it's basically when you move the modulation wheel, it steps through each of the step of the arpeggiator. So, from the lowest to the highest, and so if you've got a really big arpeggio, you can sort of just mess around with the modulation wheel, and it's like sweeping through loads of notes really, really quickly.
Yeah,
I had a lot of fun with that.
I really liked it on the Launchkey Mini too because it has the touch mod wheel, so you could just jump to specific spots instead of like, oh, let me get to that note. I got to pass these 5 notes to get there.
Yeah,
you
that's
can just
right.
kind of like hit this randomly, and it all stays in key because you'll just be like whatever note you played or whatever.
Well, that's it. I mean, I guess from the point of view of the touch strip, you're right. I mean, that's kind of like it is actually a strum feature, isn't it? When you're using the touch strip with the mod wheel, I mean, you're getting that strum kind of sensation, but obviously it's connected to the mod wheel, so that's going upwards and downwards. But one thing that I really love about the way that the Launchkey works, and especially with the strum mode, is you've got your fixed chords, which also run through the scale mode as well. So with fixed chord, you can basically kind of hold down a series of notes. Press the fixed chord button, hold down a series of notes, and then every time you press a single key, that chord that you've played is going to play back. So you've basically got a chord on individual keys, basically repeating up and down the keyboard. But as soon as you then put the scale mode on, that chord, as it's running up and down the keyboard, is also going through a scale filter. So only the correct notes in a certain key are actually going to get through. So it basically takes all the wrong notes out of the way. So with sort of a fixed chord and the scale mode on, and then the strum on top of that, it's a really powerful way of getting to places that you wouldn't normally. Well, I certainly couldn't play like that, not on black and white notes. So it just kind of brings you to some really interesting places, I think.
Another weird thing I would do too, that was kind of like hacky at the time. This was before strum mode. Mm-hmm. I would unsync the arpeggiator from whatever groove box I was using and just play the arp randomly into a sequencer quantized. So I just like slap it a bunch of times, and it would just like lock this weird, crazy bass line into whatever the tempo was on the next turnaround. But same thing with the strum. It's like, oh, now I don't have to unsync it. I can have it a part of the thing, but just play the strum randomly and then just quantize it into a sequencer, and then it'll spit it back out into something perfectly in time. I would do that with the modular stuff a lot too.
Nice.
If I was like using tracks, one of those tracks is MIDI tracks to send MIDI out.
Yeah, no, it definitely works. I think I've done similar stuff as well. And again, going back to tracks, of course, you've got the non-quantized recording in there too. So you can kind of get off the grid, when you're using the things like the strum as well. So that works really well too, I think. Ehsan, have you got some strumming stories?
I like this, like Alex said, the strum on the, or maybe Enrique said, on the Launchkey Mini is where it's at for me, because you can get really stuck in with that touch strip mod control, whereas the wheel maybe I'm a bit slower with. But the happy accident factor is where it's all at for me. And what you were talking about, CALC, the chord mode, scale mode, it's an instant rave chord machine, and you can just play up and down the keyboard, and it's just rave stabs for days. So I've had a few hours of seriously good noodling playing with that.
Yes, good stuff. So well, moving swiftly on, because we're kind of nearly half an hour in, and we're kind of only up to I think April or June or May or something. But there was one large bit of news more from the Focusrite group, I guess, really, rather than kind of just specifically Novation. And I think this, it surprised me on the day, but, that's the way things are, I guess, in this company. But, the acquisition of a small synthesizer company out in San Francisco called Sequential. So Sequential, the guys over there joined the Focusrite group, Dave Smith and his crew. It was probably as much a surprise to the four of us as it would be to the rest of the world, because of course, we can't know about insider sort of dealings in this way from the company point of view. But wow, what a day that was. That was that was pretty special, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I know that Enrique and Ehsan, you're both sequential users and have been for years. So it must have been, a really big bit of news for you guys.
Massively exciting. I'm I'm an OB6 guy.
Yeah.
I love my OB6. It's traveled everywhere with me. It's played 1 million gigs. It's been banged around in its road case. And, it's probably one of the best sounding instruments I've ever played, and certainly one of the best playing instruments. It's such a great keyboard, such a good tactile instrument, and I think I've programmed my brain to it's home base for me on a keyboard now, so everything else is sort of compared to that OB6 in my fingers. That's what I feel. It's the high watermark. And I mean, I even put in the background that there's my painted white, mind you, Pro 1, just for a bit of OG sequential in the room as well. But,
nice.
What a great brand it is indeed, and just a great legacy of incredible instruments and so much influential music. I mean, all that Simple Mind stuff and Prophet 5, and it's just runs through my veins.
Yeah, for sure. And Enrique as well. I mean, I know you're a big fan of the Pro 3.
Yeah, it's funny we got the trifecta. You got the 1, I got the 2 and the 3 up here.
Nice.
But yeah, the having the Pro 3s has been amazing. I don't know I honestly still don't even know what it is about that synth that I like so much. It just resonates with me a lot. Same with MPCs. Anytime I use an MPC, I'm just yeah, I get this. This makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Pro 3, I think it's just the distortion on there. There's a tuned feedback that just sounds good. I'm how do you tune feedback?
Yeah.
So it just it'll start really shredding at certain notes because it's hitting resonant frequencies, and it just adds all this happy accident, but then it's getting slammed into a compressor or a limiter, so it's evens itself out. I don't know. It's a wild synth. And when the news came out, I had no idea. I was just wait, who sent this email? What is this?
Is it real? Is it what?
Yeah, seriously. I was just this isn't.
Yeah.
What's going on?
I was sat in this chair, and all of a sudden I wasn't sat in this chair. I was jumping around and running through the house, just waving my arms and saying this is incredible.
Yeah. I literally think my jaw dropped. I was just
that's it
the whole time.
Yeah. But I mean, that as I say, that was quite a day when we found that information out, and it's amazing that those guys are part of the big Focusrite family now, and our colleagues and brothers in arms, brothers and sisters in arms now as well in the so that was quite a big day, and I think that was April. And then, kind of moving through, we've got a few more bits, I guess, before we get to another release. So we had, Ehsan and I, we did a few live streams where we were kind of just jamming out a little bit on the live streams. That was good fun. I mean, basically, I think, in fact, it was 12 months ago. It was this live stream about 12 months ago where we tried to do the live jam thing. So Ehsan obviously is in Melbourne, and I'm in the UK, and we came across this idea of maybe using some live streaming jam software, Jamulus, to try and have a live jam between us. It didn't work the first time, unfortunately. So that live stream became more of Ehsan and I had a bit of a chat. But we did get there in the end, because throughout the course of this year, we revisited that and managed to get something going where, we were jamming together over the internet, 10,000 miles apart, 600 milliseconds latency, I think, between us. So it's pretty neat. I mean, the latency was a fraction of what it would have been for the speed of sound to travel from my house to your house. I think we worked out it was it would take 10 hours for the speed of sound to get there, but we were doing it in 600 milliseconds. And that was quite a bit of fun. And of course, we did the Base Station 2 jam as well. And that was really kind of the first time we could kind of break out the circuit tracks for a live setup, I guess, because, we weren't really gigging so much at that point in the year. Yeah, and I do remember your set, Ehsan, being particularly strong with the circuit tracks and the Base Station 2 one.
Oh, you're very kind. Was that where I had both base stations, double base station?
Oh, you did. Yeah, you did indeed.
I think I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Which, interestingly enough, if just sitting behind Alex, he's doing the same thing. He's got a double base station system going on there as well. It must be.
It's the best.
It must be a thing to do.
It just keeps giving that setup. Base station 2 squared.
2 squared. That's that one. Yeah, of course. So there was a few live streams and stuff, and then a couple of packs as well for Circuit Tracks. So kind of nice bit of content. There was 2 packs that we released for Circuit Tracks. One from Shadow Child, great producer, and also another one which I think is possibly the best sounding pack I've ever heard for the circuit as well, which is the DLR pack. DLR is a drum and bass producer from Bristol here in the UK.
DLR pack was awesome.
It was insanely good, yeah. I mean,
video.
Wow, I have to check that out.
Yeah.
I thought the Shadow Child one was really good. Some super good, like, default synth patches that just work on like any kind of house, electro, techno.
I think that's it. They're both really usable packs. And you're right, the Shadow Child one is superb as well. But for me, I think the DLR pack, I mean, it took him kind of hardly any time at all to produce that pack as well.
Wow.
To get his samples together, to get his presets set up in the instrument as well. And and then the production stuff, the projects that he'd released with it, I mean, they were just basically released tunes as far as I could see. I mean, they just sounded amazing.
I'll have to check that one out. I haven't heard that one.
It's, as I say, it takes me, I've obviously seen quite a lot of Circuit Tracks packs, but I think that one's the one that has hit home the most for me in terms of, definitely worth checking out. And of course, the other thing with Circuit Tracks as well, it'd been out for a few months, and we managed to we found some more sample time for it. We checked down the back of the sofa. Oh, and there it was. Yeah, there was a bit more sample time. So we managed to throw that in. And I can't remember the exact times now. In fact, actually, you'll know, Alex, because you were testing this. So
I know that it went up to.
It went
I was
up.
testing it, but I can't remember the times. What did it go up to? 200 seconds, or was
it's
it?
228, I think now.
I just know it is like over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Just over 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was 196 seconds, 96.6, I think.
We're getting into the 0.6s of the seconds now.
Nice. Hey, 0.6 is a kick drum at least.
Man, at least, yeah, exactly, yeah. Imagine the close hi-hat you could have with that. So, So that was really, a really kind of useful update. And of course, that's just per pack. And there are, if you've got an SD card in the tracks, you've got 32 packs as well. So there's a lot of real estate on in this battery powered portable little device, Groovebox. But then into the summer, and I think it's time that we spoke about probably what I would call the worst kept secret in this industry from 2021, and that was our Circuit Rhythm, which at long last actually made it out there, and we got it released, we got it out, and it was that was quite a journey, that one. But I'm really, really pleased with the way that Circuit Rhythm has sort of matured into what it is. I think it's a stunning piece of equipment. It's probably it's got to be one of my all-time favourite Novations. I mean, there's quite a few of those, but but Circuit Rhythm I think is a big deal. And essentially a sampler, but based around the kind of the circuit workflow. So again, no screen, but instead of where Circuit has the synth parts, of course, Circuit Rhythm is all based around samples. I mean, Circuit Tracks has sample players. It's got 4 tracks of sample playing, but Circuit Rhythm is an actual proper sampler that records samples in and lets you manipulate them. As I say, that for me was it was a lovely day when that one, we could actually start to talk about that one properly, because I'm really, really excited by that product. And I know that the rest of you guys have also, you've been, kind of extolling the virtues as well. And again, Enrique, you did a lot of the heavy lifting there on YouTube on the release time with the kind of little tutorial videos and performance stuff as well. How did you find all that?
It was good. I mean, I feel like I've been waiting for Circuit Rhythm for literally years, because when the original circuit came out, and we're at the U.S. office, and I got it. I was like, this is awesome, but how about we remove all of this and just make it drum tracks and like record in? I was like, this is great, but hear me out. Like, so I kind of like immediately was implanting that. And then I was bringing over a bunch of my gear and saying like, hey, watch how I make a beat on this. We should be able to do this on a circuit format because it would be really fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been waiting for it forever. And then I found out that we're actually going to do it. And I was like, okay, cool. But yeah, Rhythm's been awesome. And I wasn't sure if it was going to replace tracks or work alongside it, or like, how they would work together. But they are like hilariously in the exact same shape and form, but completely different devices. Yeah. Like, couldn't be further apart. Because I was like, oh, maybe they'll have too much overlap, but not at all. Like, Rhythm is just, you can use it as like a super solid drum machine and effects box, or you can use it as like a weird pseudo live looping trippy thing. Or like we were talking before we went live, I just use it to just destroy samples that I've resampled a couple times just to get like a new texture and tone to create a new, maybe like percussion-y weird background rhythmic element that I don't even know what to call it. And I'm like, cool, I wouldn't have been able to get here unless I had something that was way more expensive or spent way too much time on a computer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, it just begs for that kind of stuff, that sort of resampling. You just takes you to places that are just kind of not natural kind of go-to places.
Yeah.
They just kind of, I mean, it is, we use this word a lot, but the happy accident thing, and it really can lead to those. I mean, especially the resampling stuff and the grid effects as well. Just get a beat in there and then just start messing around with it. Really, messing it up and resampling that back in, and there you've got it. You've captured that, and then do that again if you want, and it just brings a lot of stuff to the table. I mean, I think for me, one thing that I really, really love about the Circuit Rhythm is the fact that the sampling in on it is really efficiently done in the background. So you can basically live sample while the sequence is still running. You don't have to stop the sequencer to sample. It can still be running. And by virtue of that fact, you can kind of... And I did sort of a bit of experimentation on this. I did put a video on my channel about... well, not about it, but kind of a little performance of using it as a live looper. And that was fascinating. I mean, I'm quite a big fan of of loopers in general. But all of a sudden, you've got something that you can kind of loop, but you can also sequence with and kind of mess. You've got ultimate control over the loops that you're creating. To me, that was kind of one of my highlights with it, is the fact that the sequencer can run, but you can still record in the background, and it doesn't, it doesn't fall over. It doesn't say, hang on a second, let me kind of just play this sequence before you sample anything. It's all just running there. And also, because you've got your sample slots, as I say, if you kind of choose a track on your Circuit Rhythm, put an empty sample space, an empty sample in the sequencer, you hit play, nothing's going to play because there's no sample in there. So then you record the sample onto that sample slot, and all of a sudden that's just going to loop round, and it's just there it is. And then of course you can use the slice mode with it. You can do some crazy stuff with a sample that you're live recording. There's some amazing stuff that it can do in that respect. Yeah. How about yourself? Ehsan.
I was going to shout out about that video you made, CALC jamming with the rhythm and the piano, which I think is what you're talking about. Everyone watching should go check it out on CALC's channel. Piano. I don't know what it was titled. I can't remember, but it's a piano in the Circuit Rhythm, and it's one of those devices, I think, Rhythm, where all the features are there and the interface is there, and then there are all of these use cases and little inspirational situations that are really going to be unlocked in the mind of the person using the device. Sort of not designed features, but features that fall out of the combination of what the device is capable of. And that live looping, live mangling thing is one of those. And there are definitely more of those type of uses for it to be discovered by people more inspired than I am. I tend to approach it pretty utilitarian. I'm like, man, I can never have too many drum machines. This is a rock solid, awesome, fast, quick drum machine. And then someone like you shows up and starts pulling all of these incredible ideas out of the ether. And I'm like, it's got me scratching my head and thinking about, the features between the features. Yeah, so I love that. I go back to look at that video from time to time and think, oh man, I must try some of that.
Yeah, no, it is. It's great, and you're right. I mean, obviously, we're kind of working in the background, kind of making this stuff, and we all do get a little bit involved on the product side. Obviously, we've got a full product team behind, making the products, doing an amazing job of that. But we do get to see stuff and have a bit of input. And, we kind of get these ideas in our head of, maybe it could do this, maybe it could do that. But it's only once that product's released and it's into people's hands that we start to get our education as well. We start to see people think, okay, try doing, you can do this with it, you can do that with it. And that to me is one of the real joys of this job, really, seeing these little things kind of getting born and then going out and then getting legs and and start to be used properly.
CALC's particularly notorious in the engineering department to pop into the office and say, hey, this is looking really good. Wouldn't it be really nice if I had some extra steps on the sequencer? Have you thought about throwing some filters in it? Yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, it's a thing, isn't it? I do want as much as I could possibly to cram into a product, but it's an important thing though to bear in mind that feature creep can be it can be a problem. I mean, it's not just kind of the engineering side, it's the user interface side. It's kind of whether or not, we can make it, work in the right sort of way. There's so much stuff. So, yeah, of course, I guess I'm like anybody and saying, it's amazing, but wouldn't it be great if it could just do this? And, I'm never going to stop saying that, I guess, that's kind of my job to say that.
Never stop saying that. That's awesome.
Yeah, but you're right. I walk up into the engineering sort of team and see people kind of, oh God, CALC's here. Oh no, quick, look, busy. He's going to ask for another voice or something. Yeah. Yeah. But, but I mean, you were working. Did you do some work on the circuit rhythm as well from the QA side, Alex?
Yeah, rhythm was the last project that I worked on, and just towards the end, I took on this gig and handed over a little bit, the last bits over to the other guys in QA there. Yeah, Dan. Really, really like it. I particularly like that. It was kind of pitched to me as a drum machine, sort of like a specialized thing. This is what you're going to make your beats with, but it became pretty clear pretty quickly that you can make complete songs on there as well. There's a lot of melodic elements to it, like the sample engines, like 3 octaves up, 3 octaves down. It works a little bit differently to a synth, of course. It's a sampler, but you can make entire pieces on it as well. So it's still much like the thing I really like about tracks and the original circuit is that you can make more or less a full piece just contained within the box and then add to it. I didn't necessarily think that was going to be a thing with rhythm, but it absolutely works in the same way. To me, anyway, like 8 tracks, you could have a few of those as your rhythm and your beat, and then a few melodic bits over the top.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, there are 8 tracks, obviously, in circuit rhythm, and I mean that in itself is great. But when you bear in mind and factor in the notion of sample flip, so on each step, you could have a totally different sample, set to that step. So, even just on one track, you could have 32 different samples on one track.
You could do your entire drum beat on one track.
For sure.
Bits,
that's it. I mean, it's wildly powerful, that sort of stuff. And I think, I think that's where it kind of, that's where it makes a lot of sense to me as well.
Yeah.
Alex.
Also, go ahead.
I was going to say, how many octaves up and down? Because I think you can actually do more than what you just said.
I think it's
really?
6. I think it's 6
in
total.
It's kind of
3 up, 3 down.
Sorry, that's what I meant. Like 3 up and 3 down on them.
And then
but you can also use the tune.
Yeah, that's right.
To go an extra octave down, because I have it. I mean, I forgot I had that cheesy transition.
Transition.
Here, let's go back Enrique, to this one.
Yeah.
Hey, didn't see you there. Here, let's just cut this. Can you hear that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say this is the default. I sampled a bunch of sounds at a park the other day. So this was like a basketball pull. But like, let's say we go here, right? And then say 1, 2, 3, and then 4, right? So if we were to go up from the very bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then default 7, and then 7. Okay.
Right. So wow.
So
but that's fast.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nearly a whole piano size, and it's a sampler.
7 octaves.
Yeah. Wow.
What does this have?
Wow.
That has more than my Nord 61 key.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it, in those contexts? But yeah, as I say, there's a lot of power in there, a heck of a lot of power. So yeah, and also a shout to Jeremy, Red Means Recording as well, because he did the stock sessions, the stock projects in there, and I'll never forget the day we got those through, and I put them straight into the rhythm and listened to it. I was like, wow, this is like, hang on a second, this is like, it's a release, it's like an album in there. And I think he's got 12 projects in there, and each one was just banging. It was just on point. And again, he was using the scenes a lot, so he was kind of using the chaining the scenes to create this arrangement.
Yeah.
And what he was able to do with it is very, very nice, very nice. And he joined us on the live stream as well. We kind of had a bit of a chat about his work on the circuit rhythm as well. That was good. It's really nice to get someone like Jeremy, who's just a super talented guy, involved. Brilliant stuff. And then, a little bit further down the line as well, we had Mike Pensini join us as well. That was Ehsan and myself. Ehsan's, I guess Mike is kind of local to you, isn't he? He's over in Melbourne.
Yeah, I mean,
as well.
we're both from Melbourne.
Yeah,
a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Astonishing musician.
Well, that's what I'd written here. I was like, Mike Pensini chat, then brackets, what chops he had. Wow. I mean, he could just play. And and that was the really interesting thing with that, because we were talking about Summit specifically, really. We were kind of using, Mike was just talking to us about how he uses Summit. And we just say to him, oh, yeah, could you give us a little demo? Could you just try something out for us now? And he's like, oh, yeah, for sure. And then just span round and then just made a whole track in front of our eyes. It was just insanely good. That was a great one.
He's a truly inspiring human being, and I adore him.
Yeah.
And he loves his Summit. I'll speak for him, but he loves his Summit. And he's so. It's just really interesting, having people who approach instruments like the Summit so differently to how you or I would when we go deep into the trying to program every nuance, and then a guy like that or a musician like that can just show up and it's all in the fingers.
That's right? It. But he shared some really great little tips as well. I don't know if you remember, Ehsan, but he was telling us about, the pitch bend wheel, and how normally a pitch bend wheel, kind of out of a box, it will perhaps be set to 12 plus 12 minus 12, an octave, or plus 2 minus 2. A lot of players stick with plus 2 minus 2. But Mike says, no, what I do is I set it to plus 3 or minus 3. And I don't push it all the way up, but I just get that little bit of extra kind of maybe slightly off wonky tuning, but that just brings in that kind of natural element to it. And it's just those kind of pro tips that I think were, there were lots of nuggets from that chat. It was good. Let's move swiftly on, because I think I've got a few other points to mention. I think, we've also got our Secret Santa, and that we're probably going to be talking a little bit about that. And I'm mindful of the fact we've been chatting for 50 minutes. And if people are still with us on that, well done. That's brilliant. We've not played a single note yet, I don't think, apart from Enrique's basketball poll. But the other things I was going to mention was Superbooth. Of course, that was a strange one this year. None of us were there ourselves, but of course, folks, Novation, Sequential were all there. But it was, I don't know about you guys, but it was quite an interesting thing not being there, because, of course, we've been there many times before. And, this was the first time that we'd not been for a good long while. It was really interesting watching it from afar, I thought. And I have to be quite honest, it really, really made me sad that I wasn't there more than anything. Yeah. What did you guys have any thoughts on Superbooth from this year? I mean, of course, we weren't there. We couldn't really sort of talk from personal experience, but yeah, did you guys have any thoughts on Superbooth?
I do remember like refreshing the feeds, trying to see what new announcement was out, and like, seeing something cool and being like, oh man, I want more information on that. But
yeah,
that was the only article that wrote something. So I'm like, dang, I'm going to have to wait a whole day. Come on.
Yeah, that's it. It is interesting, isn't it? Because usually the four of us are kind of on the floor there, on the floor, kind of working at the booth there, and we generally don't get a great deal of time to look around the show. I mean, there are lunch breaks and there are moments where he's like, oh God, I need to get away and just have a little walk, and you get to see some things, but generally you don't kind of experience the show as a visitor would. And I thought it was quite interesting, and it did kind of make me realize, I'm perhaps a little bit addicted to this, because I was kind of glued to the screen, just seeing if there's any announcements, any news and that sort of thing. But anyway, I really hope that next year, the four of us can be actually in the same room and actually be there, or in the same, East German forest somewhere, because I know they took it outside this year as well. That looked really quite nice, I must admit. But hopefully we can make it over next year. I think, we'll finish that there for now for kind of the roundup stuff, because I think, we've kind of covered everything. I mean, the real big stories this year, of course, were the circuit tracks and the circuit rhythm and their releases. And it's been a bit of a journey, really, a bit of a ride. So, okay. So as a little kind of introduction for people watching, I guess, when we were coming up with this notion of this live stream, this kind of end of year review, we thought, well, it's coming up to the Christmas thing, and, often people kind of have this notion of a secret Santa, where all four of our names went into a hat, and somebody kind of shook the hat around and then drew out a name, and we had to basically go ahead and, well, I was going to say buy them a Christmas present, but we didn't do that. We've kind of done it virtually. So if, money and distance was no object, and we were very generous people, of course, this is what we would have got you, sort of thing. So, so the plan is really to kind of do the reveal of kind of what we've got, and then I guess we've got to try and guess who it is, who kind of was our secret Santa, who was buying the present for us, and then we can have a bit of a chat about the various things that we've got. And to keep it nice and open, it's not anything to do with Novation or Focusrite. This is kind of this is just us four as synth nuts, kind of just talking about something that's quite nice. Now I actually know I know everything here. I know who's got presents, but obviously we don't know who's got the presents. So I'm going to go first, just to kind of, to open it up. And so I'm kind of rustling under the Christmas tree here, and I'm opening up my present, and then I get to one of these. Now, I didn't think about this, but you guys can't actually see it, can you, on the screen? So, so that didn't work particularly well in terms of the big reveal. Should have thought about that. Okay, right. Well, basically, I'll let you guys know. I have received wonderfully from Secret Santa an Expressive E Touche, which is a fascinating product. I mean, are you guys aware of this? Do you know the Touche?
Yeah, I love the Touche.
Yeah, me too. It's a very, very well-received present, this one, because on several occasions I have actually nearly bought one of these. And for whatever reason, I've never managed to get my hands on one, but now I have my very own Touche. So thank you, whoever my Secret Santa is there. I mean, I have no idea who it could be. It could be any of you guys. But yeah, I mean, I have no idea whatsoever who's got me that. But whoever it is, thank you very much. I love you lots. That's amazing. They're quite a thing, aren't they? Yeah.
It's a wonderful device. I have one, actually.
Oh, you've got one?
And,
right, okay.
Yeah. And there's just... I mean, to go back to Mike Pensini, it's something that Mike has conquered, absolutely, and worth checking out his videos with it. And I think he did some with the Summit as well, with the Touche. But for someone like me, just a smasher and a banger, you can plug it into your Euro rack and just kind of wail on it, and it becomes this great macro controller. But for someone like Mike, who's got incredible control of his, fine details, fine motor skills, it can just make something really sing. So it's an amazing controller.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've also seen these with, well, in fact, actually at Superbooth 2 or 3 years ago, we had one. We borrowed one from Expressive E and had it connected to the Peak synthesizer that we had. And it was fascinating. I mean, it obviously when you're working with a keyboard, you've got essentially switches in front of the keys, and that's great. They've got velocity, they've got aftertouch as well, so they can be, expressive in a number of ways. But yeah, the Touche, it just gives you a totally different kind of dimension of controlling the sound. I mean, it's kind of X, Y, Z axis kind of control, and also, the wooden, I mean, it feels beautiful, but the wooden block on the top, so that you use that to tap, and it's kind of working with the center. Yeah, really lovely thing.
Have you seen their Osmos keyboard that they're working on?
Yeah.
It's basically a Touche's every key. Yeah, I have one of those. Yeah. I remember when they first announced it, I was like, fine, I'll pre-order it. I suck at playing the piano, but this will be a goal to learn. I'm fine with this. Like, this is going to be the end-all, be-all, control all my synths thing. And then eventually I realized that it was also a synthesizer in itself. And I was like,
it's an Eagle Matrix synthesizer.
Yeah, which is great for me because I was like, all right, I'm paying a lot of money for like a MIDI controller, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, oh, and it comes with a synth? Awesome.
Yeah. And not just any synth as well. I mean, it's the Harken Continuum voice, I think, in there as well. I mean, yeah, that is going to be really fascinating to see next year. And I kind of kick myself now that I didn't get on that first sort of pre-order thing, because I know it's taken them a long time to get it right. But what's impressing me about Expressive E is the fact that they are taking their time. They're not just going to rush this out. It's got to be bang on, so that's it. But wow. Well, I mean, I guess to wrap up my present, I don't know if that's quite the right way of putting it. Yeah, to wrap up this section on my present, I've got to try and guess who it is. And I genuinely don't know. I'm going to pluck a name out of my hat, and I think maybe it was Ehsan who was... No. Okay. Oh, wah. Okay. Well, is it the Jingly Jumper Santa?
Over here, mate. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Alex. That was very kind of you.
That's I thought you'd dig it. I think they're brilliant as well. I think they're really cool. And like nothing else I've really seen quite like that with the pressure sensitive thing. I really like ergonomic integration, control over things. Plus, I always thought it'd be really, really cool to get 4 of them and then just have a throne where you have one for each hand and then one for each foot, and then you never just you just kind of look at things.
Oh man,
them.
yeah.
But yeah, they're really fun. I had another go on one recently and reminded how cool they are. They've also got a synth plugged in with them. I'll primarily use it as a MIDI controller probably, but
okay.
Yeah.
Right, brilliant.
I thought you'd dig it.
Well, it's very generous of you. Thank you very much. So I'll get that off you next year when I see you at the office. But yeah, thank you. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So who's next? Who would like to go next? Who wants to go next?
Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, go on.
Alex?
Yeah.
Okay. So
what's in the box?
I guess, do you know already what's in your box?
I think.
Have you been told?
I think I've got a heads up, but I have no idea what it is.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, go on. What?
Okay, well, I mean, you can't see it when I switch to the screen because, of course, we're using this software to speak to each other. But our viewers at home will be able to see it's not a Touche. But hang on, let me just double check this because I've got the list and I've forgotten now. Sorry.
I
Yeah.
was told it's a techno. Is that?
Aha, of course.
But I just got sent. The reveal to me
Yeah.
was just one word in capitals: techno. So someone's got me techno for
I
Christmas,
think,
which is
yeah.
really exciting. I don't know if that's an instrument or the genre of music, but I'm down with it.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, I genuinely don't know either. I just know that I was given that one word, and Alex has got techno, and there it is. So I'm kind of guessing that it is just techno. It's techno.
Techno, the genre of music, yeah.
Well, I as I say, I haven't actually been given any more clarification other than that one word techno. So it's kind of, yeah, it's techno.
Awesome.
You've been given techno.
I'm very happy.
What
with
an
that.
amazing gift that is.
That's a lot of hype. Yeah, that's a good hype for Christmas, particularly one of these Christmases when you're not really allowed, not really going out an awful lot. Just bashing out the techno in your rooms. I'm a big fan of that. I've got to say,
stuff.
that's got Ehsan written all over it because we had a little warm up earlier. It's only like 7 a.m. over there, and it was really getting the heartbeats going on. Was that anything to do with you there, Ehsan? Am I right?
As charged. Happy Christmas. I thought I'd do some techno.
Hey, cheers.
What a
Sorry, the
gift.
line dropped for me a little bit there, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. Happy Christmas.
Oh.
So I gave you some techno because, well, what do you give your friend who has everything, right? And look at you, surrounded by all my favorite instruments, and I thought maybe I could just give you something to do with them. And I've been dripping in techno lately. I've been surrounded by it everywhere the last few weeks, and it's consumed my every thought. And I've been communing with my techno self with the pair of circuits, tracks, and rhythm over there, and it just, like, I had a while in the wilderness away from techno, and I know it may not be the center of your universe. It's certainly not the center of mine, but man, it's so much fun. And you throw some circuits in the mix, and it becomes this whole melange of just like a fistful of change in a washing machine set to a spin cycle. And
I like that.
you know what I was talking about. So I mean, basically.
Go on, yeah.
Oh, go on,
Give
yeah.
me some techno.
There we go.
So that's been my life lately, and I mean, it's a whole 30-minute rabbit hole that I'm going to stop myself from going down, but I just wanted to share a bit of that with you, and tell you that when I it was one of those features between the features moments that I had when I started exploring how I could make it fresh and exciting and performable for myself, that rhythm and tracks showed up and changed the course of musical history for me in the last 2 weeks. So by osmosis, that's my gift to you, buddy.
I rate that. Thank you, mate. I dig it. Hey, send me up some techno tracks. Yeah, if you have, because it's not really a genre I've particularly explored. So,
You got a whole world out there, man. It's going to be a good Christmas for you, Alex.
yeah. I'm vibing that.
I'll knock you up a playlist.
Brilliant. Cool. Right. Well, we've got 2 more gifts to give. So let's see who's going to delve their hand into Santa's hat again. Who wants to go next?
I'll go for it.
Okay. So, Enrique, do you know what you have?
Yeah, I got the Norns by Mono. And I mean, I don't know much about it. I've seen it a couple times. I've always wanted it, but it's always been like way too expensive for me to justify, especially lately. But I would say CALC gave that to me, because who the heck else would be the one to give that?
Yeah. Guilty as charged, Your Honor. Yes. Yeah, indeed.
What made you want me to check that out?
Okay. Well, it's been...
Where do you begin, right?
Okay, exactly, man. Well, listen, I know you. I know, you suffer from gear acquisition syndrome. I nearly said you suffer from gas. I mean, we all do, but your gear acquisition syndrome all the way. And of course, we love playing with toys. I know, on Saturdays, Saturday evenings, I kind of sit down in front of an Enrique tutorial video. Love it every Saturday, and each time you're on there, you're changing stuff up and grabbing something different. Now the Norns it's really kind of blown me away, because it's a little computer. It's a Raspberry Pi computer based. Well, I've got one here actually. If I just switch over to this shot, here's the Norns. It's basically a Raspberry Pi computer, but this is the Shield version. There are two versions, and this is like a little DIY kind of. You get the plastic enclosure, you get a screen, and this kind of PCB that you can just put on top of the Raspberry Pi computer. But the thing is, it's built around these scripts. There's an enormous community out there. Monome is obviously the company that kind of build this thing. And they've got this amazing forum called Lines, which is basically 8 of the letter L .co. So type L 8 times and then .co, and you'll get to Lines. Whew. It's a really easy shortcut actually when you've got an autofill in your browser. But you go there, and it's the gift that keeps on giving, because there are so many incredible people out there just kind of writing scripts for it. And as it's community based, they're all just totally open source and freely available, and it's a really strong community. So the thing, we're talking about gas earlier, and kind of all this, the love of gear and playing with new stuff. The Norns is the gift that just keeps giving. It's like every other week there's a new script that comes out, and it's just so useful and so well thought through, and kind of out of this world as well. Just really weird kind of strange sequences, generative sequences, strange loopers, synth voices that you've never heard as well. I mean, just recently someone has created essentially an FM synth, but it's kind of based around, if I remember correctly, the old Yamaha Portatone synths of kind of like the 80s, the organs, the home organs. That was actually an FM synth in there, but obviously not exposed. It's just it's just the presets. It's piano 1, piano 2, electric piano, and all that sort of stuff. So he's kind of taken the notion of that synth engine, but obviously given it control. And it's, it just never stops delivering really high quality, amazing scripts, usable scripts, and it's a lot of fun. So I just thought, to save you a few pounds or dollars, I should say, Enrique, this thing, it's just like this ongoing sort of, it's the never-ending porridge pot of great music applications and synths. It's really, really nice. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I definitely need to check it out. I've seen you talk about it before. I'm like, man, that thing looks awesome. Yeah,
it is. I think one of the difficulties is there's quite a barrier to entry, because it seems like there's a barrier to entry because...
Right, and that's a big thing that's been putting me off as
for sure.
well.
And it put me off as well. For quite a long time. But actually, the reality is, we install pieces of software on our computers pretty much all the time. We sometimes go into the settings in Ableton, you need to go into the settings to change things up a bit. It's really kind of no different to that, really. You can script on it as well if you want. I mean, it's a relatively straightforward language to kind of learn, I believe. I've not got there myself, but I do often go in and just tinker around with things. The great thing with software is you just can't break it. I mean, if you break the software, then you just reinstall it and put it back on there, and you've got it back again. So it's a really nice kind of foot in the door of basically creating computer music, and it's a really strong thing. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you have a nice Christmas with Norns, Enrique.
Thanks, Cal.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, so. Well, now, by process of elimination, we have Mr. Ehsan Gelsi next.
Okay.
And now, are you aware what you've been given at this point? Have you opened your package? Have you opened your present?
Surprise me.
Okay, right. Well, I'll surprise you by showing you a screen that you can't see, but I'll just describe what's on there. It's made by a Swedish company. It's about the size of a calculator. It's a teenage engineering pocket operator. The Tonic. You've been gifted a Tonic.
Oh, the Tonic, the PO32.
That's the one, the PO32.
Cool. Thanks, Santa. Wicked. Yeah. So I have to guess who it's from. I think I can do this by...
Well, there's a process of
elimination, right?
Yeah, we should have done this at the very end, shouldn't we? Oh, dear. All
thanks,
right.
Enrique. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Guilty as charged.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so tell me all about it. Why do I love this device? I mean, I know why, but tell me.
Dude, it is the most flexible sound generative. I take samples off this thing all day long because it's just so flexible. And what's crazy too is you can actually plug this into the online or on the computer editor for the Tonic synth engine and just kind of generate your own sounds and put them on here. And you can even map the knobs to be whatever you want them to be. And what's really fun is since tracks and rhythm both have the sync out, you can actually sync this to either tracks or rhythm and then sample it right on, which is super fun. But all these sounds great, even the clap.
It's a ridiculously good sounding drum machine, isn't it? Listen to that.
Yeah. And it's super thin, isn't it? I mean, it's about the depth of the PCB, isn't it?
It basically is just the PCB, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Tonic is probably next to the KO, of course, which is the sampler. But this works great because I'll just sample the sounds into rhythm, and then on rhythm with packs, I'll just have a couple packs that just have no sounds at all. And I'll be like, cool, let's just explore and see what I can create from here, and then use this as like the mega sequencer to the Tonic.
Amazing. You can never have too many drum machines, right?
Right. Especially sampling ones, and never too many flexible drum sounds.
Yeah. What a brilliant gift. Thank you.
That's it. And also, I mean, the sounds are great, but also the sequencing on it is pretty spectacular.
The sequencer, the effects are really fun because I know you like doing a lot of the, on the fly effects that are all rhythmic and whatnot. There's a ton of effects on here, and you can even automate those into the sequence too. And I'll make sequences on the Tonic and then just try and play in random like glitch effects to see how it changes up the rhythm of the whole beat. And I'm like, oh, that doesn't even sound like an effect. It just sounds like a new thing kind of happens right there in the middle of the one bar sequence.
Super.
Yeah, that's cool.
Hey,
incredible little thing, and so much power out of a little device like that.
It's so
I always
tiny,
wanted to take one of them and just when I'm sound checking a gig or something, just hijack the sound system for 5 minutes, and that you can wallop a crowd with.
Yeah, it'll knock.
One of these. It's
it knocks super hard.
Yeah. Nice. Well, there we go. Secret Santa. We've done it. We this idea, this crazy notion from a meeting on a Tuesday morning. Actually, we got there. So I guess we'll round up now. I mean, we've been chatting for quite some time, but I just want to say thanks very much, guys, for joining us for the stream. It's been an absolute pleasure having the four of us, the three of you and myself together on this. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you very much indeed. And I guess we're nearly on the at the end of the year, and kind of regardless of how you spend this time, whether it's a festive time or not for you, I wish everybody obviously all the very best for the end of the year, and obviously all for 2022 as well. And to you guys as well. Thanks very much for joining us. Oh, there is one thing that I definitely wanted to say before I do finish, and that is, it might well be that actually under a real Christmas tree at some point you might find something from Novation, over the next sort of couple of weeks. And if so, obviously, it can be quite a testing time because, there's lots of new stuff to learn and that sort of thing. But our customer support guys, I've got to give those guys a very special shout. not because they're going to be actually in the thick of it over the Christmas break as well, but also because those guys just are doing it all the time. And, I think a special shout out to the customer support guys, but, both Focusrite and Novation, they do an amazing job. So, yeah, hats off to those guys and a round of applause and thanks very much. But, yeah, of course, if you do find Santa has has deemed you a good boy or girl this year and, you've got a nice shiny new Novation thing, basically, our customer support team are going to be there as well to support you even through this time, which I think is really, really great and special of them. So, yeah, wonderful stuff. Right, well, guys,
quickly, in case anyone knows, that's modular spaghetti up in your tree. I love that as well. It's a very nice tree decoration.
Well, I have to be right. I'm going to be totally honest, right? In more recent years, I haven't really had a Christmas tree in the house. Now I've got a little daughter, so it's kind of okay. Yeah, Christmas is becoming a thing again now. This Christmas tree was actually the Christmas tree that we did have in our old flat for about 10 years, and we bought it at a pound shop. Basically, it cost £1. And so I thought, well, I'll have to kind of dress up the room somehow. So I went up onto the loft today and pulled it down. And thought, right, I've got some baubles, I've got one piece of tinsel, some terrible lights. What else can I use? So I thought, well, these nice kind of colourful patch cables might do the trick as well. They were just a hand. So, yeah.
It's very on brand.
That's it. Yeah, and normally I don't sit in this room with the lights on and the synthesizers on wearing a woolly hat. That's obviously for effect as well. But mind you, I think Enrique does, though. He
got my outfit on.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, thanks very much indeed, guys. Enrique, you got kind of any specific plans over the next few weeks? You just going to kick back and chill, make some music, or
head up the coast, go see some family, relax. Probably take a pocket operator with me because it's not too bulky.
Yeah.
Keep it in my jacket pocket. It's my travel companion. Usually makes the flights a lot faster and the downtime a lot quicker.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, all the very best, Enrique. Thanks very much for joining us. Alex, How about yourself, man? How are you? You got any particular plans? You gonna kick back or
I'm isolating until Christmas Eve, and if I can survive that far without catching a logie, it's family. And then just techno all through Christmas. Might have a techno set on New Year's Eve.
That's right. By the time you're back in the new year, we expect you to know all of techno.
I'll have completed by then.
Complete it. And Ehsan, I guess, what is it? Is it barbecued turkey for you, or is that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the middle of summer here, so I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, but I don't think I'm going to get it. Just friends, family, fun, farming.
Yeah.
And a little bit of...
There we go. Nice.
That's my plans, and sounds like a good little holiday to me.
That's a perfect.
How about you, CALC? What's on the cards for you?
Pretty much, kind of the same as everybody else, really. Of course, family. I have a little family now, and so that's kind of changing the dynamic of Christmas in a really great way. Loving it. I'd be going to see my family up in the north of England, up in Manchester. And going to hang out back home, as it were, for a little while. And then I've actually got a nice, reasonably long break. So I should be back down here for the new year and pretty much sitting in this chair, which is the chair that I often work from in the day and then make music from at night. So that's basically it. I've got lots of toys in here to keep me occupied. So I'm going to keep myself occupied with them, I think. That's the plan. So, yeah. Brilliant. Wonderful. Okay, well, listen, guys, we'll finish up now, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to everybody as well who's joined us on the live stream, and also if you're watching after the fact as well, thank you very much for joining us on this one. And it just remains to be said that I wish absolutely everybody a wonderful Christmas and New Year period. However you're celebrating or not celebrating it, wish you all the very best. Have a great time, and thanks very much. And here's to, well, let's hope a nicely opened up and almost back to normal 2022. We could all do with it, I guess. But happy holidays and happy making music. Okay, thanks.